morning, everyone. We will go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us in what feels like summer, because we're like seasonally confused, I think, at this point in the year. But welcome, and welcome to the 2018 and 2019 school year, or welcome back for some of you. And hi, this is the first time we're recording to be able to post this for those of you that aren't able to join us today for our first Principal's Coffee. So my name is Valerie Hardy, and I am super proud to be the principal here at Mary Ellen Henderson Middle School, going into my second year here, having the honor to lead and learn with your children and with the staff here at the school. And beside me, and I'm going to get a little closer because we do have a mic.
Rory Dippold, I'm the assistant principal. This is my 14th year at Henderson, 12 years teaching, and second year as an assistant principal. So very excited to be here as well. And
nothing would happen without Rory Dippold beside me. So I am grateful, yes, that he is on this journey with us this year. So he is, I know, going to run out because he's got the list of all the other things that he is going to attend to while I am here today. But I know he wanted to stop by and just say hi this morning, and is obviously deeply connected and committed to what we're going to talk about today with mindset and the work of helping to grow and shape our children and our staff as we talk about this topic of really trying to think flexibly and how we grow and learn from setbacks, and then start to talk with you all a little bit about that work from your lens as parents and what you need and how that work helps to complement the message we're giving to the students here at school. And then we're going to dive into a little bit of feedback that I got last year from those of you that were with us around what you would hope to see this year in terms of these our time together, and some book talks that I'd maybe like to propose that we do together. So sound good? Yes. All right. Dr. D,
well,
see you later.
Thank you very much.
So I'll start. For some of you who I have known for a little bit, hi, come on in. And for some of you who I haven't, I thought I'd use this moment to just do a little introduction or a reacclimation of me. So I am one of the few Northern Virginia natives. Anyone else? Yeah, it's like, I feel like we're starting to become a growing breed. I feel like we're not the rare breed anymore. I did grow up in Alexandria. My father was an educator. My mother is a librarian. And I went to Mount Vernon High School, James Madison, and then UNC. I have allegiances, so go Dukes, go Tar Heels. And I started off as a special education teacher, working with students who had behavioral and emotional disabilities and learning disabilities. I also found myself really being intrigued and wanting to understand more about the complexities and systems around how and why with children, and so got my school counseling degree and spent a good number of my years supporting students as a school counselor and director of counseling. And those were all at the middle and high school level. But as I was a middle school teacher, I often wondered the journey of reading and literacy and mathematics and trying to understand and unlock and figure out that learning journey and how it happened. I was always confused, like what happens in elementary school? I never really could get it and figure out like what does that early learning look like? And so when I got my administrative endorsement, I went on this opportunity to find an elementary school that would be a good fit for me to continue my own learning. So I took a risk, because never taught. But I was really purposeful. I wanted to go to a school that had a demographic and a population and programs that I had never worked with. So I looked for a school that was Title I, that had a lot of early learning, so Head Start programs, and a really robust literacy initiative. And I found that school and I thought, let's see if they'll pick me, because I've never taught in an elementary school. But had a principal that took a chance on me and had the fortune to spend 3 years learning under him. We're fortunate because that principal has come home, and that was Tim Kasich. So he hired me as his assistant principal at Crestwood Elementary School. So I had 3 awesome years learning under Tim about elementary learners and having an opportunity to really get that solid foundation. And it helped me understand better middle schoolers in that transition. So felt very fortunate to have that experience. Spent 3 years there. And had an opportunity to go to Fairfax City, where I continued to learn and grow as an elementary AP. But then this opened, and this was an opportunity that I saw, and I was like, I don't think I can pass this up. it was coming back to middle school, which is kind of my jam. I kind of like middle schoolers. Those of you that know me, I kind of run with them. They're my speed. I really have a connection to community schools, really knowing people, knowing how communities function, working in tandem with families, working in tandem with the resources in the community. That's a value that I hold personally. And knowing Falls Church, that's what this is. So for me, that was another big check. And then I have a personal connection to the school in that my college roommate and very dear friend for 21 years, Mary Ellen Henderson, is her great-grandmother. And so for me, coming here kind of felt like those were 3 big checks that I felt like I needed to at least try, and felt really fortunate when I was selected to come here, and have just been completely in awe by your children, completely amazed by the staff, and just feel like we are hitting the ground running this year. So I'm excited to share with you all a little bit about some of our work. But a little bit about me personally. So I have a now 7-year-old who is going into 2nd grade, and when we talk about growth mindset, my goodness, I feel like I should be on this side of the table with you all with the, I can't do it, this is too hard. 2nd grade, whew, the homework. But so she's in 2nd grade. My husband, Daryl, works in Loudoun County. He also is in education, so we live this life together. It's a lot of fun. But this summer, we made a journey out to Alaska, which was amazing. So we stopped in Seattle for a couple days. My husband had been before. Obviously, Jocelyn had never been, and neither had I. So we enjoyed a few days there before we jumped on a boat and did the Inner Passage tour. Jocelyn comes to many events here, so you'll see her. She was excited to see the Huskies, and she said, "Mommy, you've got to get a picture for your kids of the Huskies." So I do still need to print that picture and put it up somewhere, because we saw the puppies, and that was the highlight of the trip, and got to do some fun hiking and stuff. But I do love my family, and so you will see and hear me reference them a lot in my Husky Herald at times, and my journey too as a parent. And I think it does bring perspective as we talk about and learn together and figure this out together, because parenting's hard. Parenting at this age is hard, right? And it's a unique journey that we have to always have that open communication to kind of sometimes figure it out together. Some of you may have seen this, and I did want to kind of ground us in our work and our time today in this. This is our new Falls Church City placemat, and what this is the work that we as a school are really looking at, and trying to look at it from how do we take all the awesome things that we do as a school system, from the instructional systems and supports that we provide to the way that we do our work efficiently with transportation services, down to our resources that we offer in the classroom. And Dr. Noonan sort of unveiled this to us as a leadership team this summer, and then rolled it out as a division during our school-wide convocation to all staff. And this is sort of what we've been using this year to create our school goals, and also to sort of look at how we're going to do our work this year. What I appreciate, and I know what our staff has appreciated about it, is it's kind of taken all the things that we do, right? So MYP and instruction, right? What are we doing to really think about how we're reaching every student by name and need? How are we really enriching and offering opportunities for extension for students? How are we creating balance for our students and thinking about their wellness, their emotional wellness, their physical wellness? And how are we thinking about how we do our work with grading, assessment? How are we doing it in a collaborative way? But how are we also making sure that we're being flexible and inclusive? I love that we're being intentional and looking at that, because I think it gives us as educators permission to say it's time for us to focus on and talk about it, because they can see it as a target and an aim by the school system. Sometimes it's easy for us to get stuck on those data points, right, like the SOL scores, because we know that that's what the state is telling us and we're looking at. It's so comforting, I think, for our staff as we've been engaging in this to see we're talking about positive relationships as a focus. So when we're coming around to your collaborative team meetings or to your grade level team meetings, and we're talking about kids, right? We can pull this out and talk about this language and kind of ground all of us in that understanding, and know that that's the work we're doing as a division. It's kind of affirming in many ways. So I did want to share this with you, and I know it's also on our website for you to reference if you want to go deeper into it. But I wanted just to start with this today before we delve into what I loved reconnecting with, which is Carol Dweck. Did any of you happen to read this book this summer or have a chance to read it in the past? So it is, and for those of you that read it, did it kind of rock your world a little too as a parent, or kind of reaffirm some things? Carol Dweck is kind of seen as the guru in this work around mindset. And when you look it up, it's interesting because you can kind of see two things, two visions sort of form, right? There's some people who are like, this work is profoundly impactful as you think about how we help shape students in terms of being able to see their abilities and being able to grow from setbacks and failures, right? Because she does sort of approach this work from two frames of thinking, right? That you have a fixed mindset, right? Sort of that this is the way things are, and it's sort of determined at birth, right? I'm this way, I'm good at these things, this is what I excel at, this is who I am, right? I kind of don't want to take the risks because I know I'm not going to be good at it. I really have that sort of internal head speak with myself. It's not worth trying, it's not worth taking the risk, it's not worth doing it because I'm not going to be able to do it, right? So sort of that defeatist mindset that you live in. The other mindset that she talks about is a growth mindset, right? Where you sort of view that failure as an opportunity, right? So I didn't get it yet, right? I really see that as a chance to grow. That challenge for me is the thing that I'm seeking because I know I'm going to learn from that challenge and figure it out, right? I'll problem solve. I'll learn a new way. Maybe my friend will help me figure it out, right? And I think sometimes this is where we see our kids struggle the most, right? Because they're working towards reaching mastery in something, right? I'm working really hard because I want to get an A on this test. Or I'm working really hard because I want to pass a certain level to become an Eagle Scout or, raised to another level in Girl Scouts. So how do we help them see that the end point isn't necessarily a thing, but that the journey is continual? And we as a school have had to spend some time challenging ourselves around that. Because our work for so long as educators has been around getting to a certain endpoint, right? Getting to a certain standard for education, getting to a certain benchmark at the end of a class, as opposed to diving deeper and really understanding the learning journey. What we're fortunate in Falls Church is we are an IB school system, and these are what all those learner profile traits really value. So what I want to do, because I've been talking for like 15 minutes it feels like, is I want to stop and show you a video that I actually shared with the staff at our kickoff, and then I want to spend some time talking about it from the lens of you all as parents.
Hey, it's me, Destin. Welcome back to Smarter Every Day. You've heard people say it's just like riding a bike, meaning it's really easy and you can't forget how to do it, right? But I did something. I did something that damaged my mind. It happened on the streets of Amsterdam, and I got really scared, honestly. I can't ride a bike like you can anymore. Before I show you the video of what happened, I need to tell you the backstory. Like many 6-year-olds with a MacGyver mullet, I learned how to ride a bike when I was really young. I had learned a life skill and I was really proud of it. Everything changed though when my friend Barney called me 25 years later. Where I work, the welders are geniuses and they like to play jokes on the engineers. He had a challenge for me. He had built a special bicycle and he wanted me to try to ride it. He had only changed one thing. When you turn the handlebar to the left, the wheel goes to the right. When you turn it to the right, the wheel goes to the left. I thought this would be easy, so I hopped on the bike ready to demonstrate how quickly I could conquer this.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Destin Sandlin. First attempt riding the bicycle.
All right. So the faster I go, the better. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. You can see that I'm laughing, but I'm actually really frustrated. In this moment, I had a really deep revelation. My thinking was in a rut. This bike revealed a very deep truth to me. I had the knowledge of how to operate the bike, but I did not have the understanding. Therefore, knowledge is not understanding. Look, I know what you're probably thinking. Destin's probably just an uncoordinated engineer and can't do it. But that's not the case at all. The algorithm that's associated with riding a bike in your brain is just that complicated. Think about it. Downwards force on the pedals, leaning your whole body, pulling and pushing the handlebars, gyroscopic precession in the wheels. Every single force is part of this algorithm. And if you change any one part, it affects the entire control system. I do not make definitive statements that often, but I'm telling you right now, you cannot ride this bicycle. You might think you can, but you can't. I know this because I'm often asked to speak at universities and conferences, and I take the bike with me. It's always the same. People think they're going to try some trick or they're just going to power through it. It doesn't work. Your brain cannot handle this. For instance, this guy, I offered him $200 just to ride this bike 10 feet across the stage. Everybody thought he could do it.
No, you didn't understand. You didn't understand. So, this way. Okay. All right, just a second. All right, so, whenever you're ready. Yeah. Good. No, you have to keep your feet on. Dude, all right, give it a go. Just give it a go. Wait. Like, you gotta start rolling at least. Go. And go. Oh, go! Alright, back up. Okay, wait. Keep your feet on the pedal. Go. Go right on. Just keep your feet on the pedals. Handles on. Yeah, come on. Alright, one more time. Okay.
Once you have a rigid way of thinking in your head, sometimes you cannot change that, even if you want to. So here's what I did. It was a personal challenge. I stayed out here in this driveway and I practiced about 5 minutes every day. My neighbors made fun of me. I had many wrecks, but after 8 months, this happened. One day I couldn't ride the bike and the next day I could. It was like I could feel some kind of pathway in my brain that was now unlocked. It was really weird though. It's like there's this trail in my brain, but if I wasn't paying close enough attention to it, my brain would easily lose that neural path and jump back onto the old road it was more familiar with. Any small distractions at all, like a cell phone ringing in my pocket, would instantly throw my brain back to the old control algorithm and I would wreck. But at least I could ride it. My son is the closest person to me genetically, and he's been riding a normal bike for 3 years. That's over half his life. I wanted to know how long it would take him to learn how to ride a backwards bike, so I told him if he learned how to ride a backwards bike, he could go with me to Australia and meet a real astronaut.
Are you gonna give up? No. Go ahead. This is how it starts. Look at this. This is such a big deal. Get up, you got it. Did you see his brain get it? So he, in how many weeks have we been doing this? 2 weeks? In 2 weeks, he did something that took me 8 months to do, which demonstrates that a child has more neuroplasticity, am I even saying that right, than an adult.
It's clear from this experiment that children have a much more plastic brain than adults. That's why the best time to learn a language is when you're a young child.
All right, today's bike log. I can ride smooth, I can ride fast. I'm thinking the experiment is over. Okay, now I'm in Amsterdam, a city that has more bicycles than people. The question is, can I ride a normal bike now? I mean, I've spent all this time unlearning how to ride a bike. If I go back and try to ride a normal one, will my brain mess up? So I've tweeted a Smarter Everyday meetup, if you will, and I'm gonna see if somebody brings a bicycle and I'm gonna try to ride a normal bike. It's backwards, it's backwards.
This was one of the most frustrating moments of my life. I had ridden a normal bike since I was 6, but in this moment I couldn't do it anymore. I had set out to prove that I could free my brain from a cognitive bias. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that all I proved is that I could only redesignate that bias.
So what you're not seeing is just a group of people here looking at me, looking at the strange American that can't ride a bike because they think I'm dumb. But I'm actually 2 levels deep into this because I've learned and unlearned. All right.
After 20 minutes of making a fool out of myself, suddenly my brain clicked back into the old algorithm. I can't explain it, but it happened in a very specific moment.
I got it. I'm back. Oh, it clicked. Hold on, it clicked. I got it. Okay, there it is. There was the moment. Okay, I can ride a bike.
I tried to explain this to the people around me, and they just didn't get it. They thought I was faking the previous 20 minutes, and I couldn't get anybody to believe me.
That looked like I faked that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Just a
You
face.
think I'm faking. You don't believe me.
It looks so weird to be like, la la la, and it's full.
You think I'm lying, don't you?
I do.
I'm not lying.
I felt like the only person on the planet who had ever unlearned how to ride a bike, and I couldn't articulate it to anyone because everybody just knew that you can't forget how to ride a bike. So I learned 3 things from this experiment. I learned that welders are often smarter than engineers. I learned that knowledge does not equal understanding. And I learned that truth is truth, no matter what I think about it. So be very careful how you interpret things because you're looking at the world with a bias, whether you think you are or not. I'm Destin. You're getting smarter every day. Have a good one.
Okay, if you want to support Smarter Every Day, you can download a free audiobook at audible.com/smarter. I recommend Commander Hadfield's book, which is An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. I read it. It was awesome. If you think about it, I had to learn how to ride a different kind of bicycle, and my son did as well. But Commander Hadfield had to learn how to ride a different spaceship. Not only that, but a different type of space station. He was on Mir and the International Space Station. Anyway, if you're interested in supporting Smarter Every Day, audible.com/smarter, An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. I'm Destin, getting smarter every day. Have a good one.
Everything's wrong. Instinct reaction's wrong.
Why don't you ride it? You just build it?
I can't ride it. I just build it.
Isn't that amazing? So I'd love for you all in your table groups, if you could just take a couple seconds, think about that video through the lens now of your kids, right? Because there is a lot in there that we could probably spend time like processing. But think about your kids, because he said a lot in there about knowledge not being understanding, right? About learning and unlearning. And about how kids, right, can kind of do this way better than we can. So just take a few moments and just process with your table groups. What were some of your takeaways? This is tough, right? As I was floating around and listening to your conversations, this is really hard, isn't it? Do any of you mind sharing a little bit of what your table groups were sort of talking about as some of the difficulties you see as parents in helping to support this mindset shift for your students at home? Any risk takers?
Well, we were saying that when you had that little blurb up of the fixed mindset and all those little words around it, we were like, oh, that's a lot of those things I would say to my kid, or we hear our kids say or whatever, and it's coaxing them out of that and being okay and being patient with them learning through this yet process. And it's not easy at all because you want them to succeed and you want to, get them to that goal, but also the goal is different now. So
it's hard moving from a fixed to a growth mindset, right? Yeah. And hearing your kid at home say those fixed mindset statements, it's hard, right? And the parent in me too wants to just like, oh, but you're not, right? Because you want to just rescue and help them feel and build that sort of inner belief that they can do. Mm-hmm. And you want them to do, and how do you get them there? Sometimes it's how do you get them there quickly, and sometimes this isn't a quick process, right? And I was sharing with this table the example of even my second grader, right, who comes home and, oh, I don't do good in science. I'm not good at science. And I want to come home and be like, yes, you are. You're a great scientist, right? But even for me, the troops are coming, be warned. So even me, I wanted to do the sure you are, we can do this, like you've got science down, but it's shifting my thinking, right? You're a great problem solver, right? And in real life, when she does solve a problem, look at you, problem solver, right? And showing her examples of when she is solving problems. Or you just did a really cool science experiment. Did you just take all of the shampoo and baking soda and make an experiment? What happened, right? But just trying to, right? But trying to help her see that she is doing things in real life that are scientific, right, to help shift her thinking, but I have to be intentional about making that connection for her and then praising it in real time. That's hard, right? Because I have to be explicit about connecting the two. The other reality is, in reading the book, I was sharing candidly, you know, you read it and as an educator, I'm like, oh yep, I'm a growth mindset, I'm a growth mindset, and as you're reading it, it's like, I'm actually probably more fixed than I want to believe, right? But the reality is we probably all have a little bit of both, fixed and growth. And as teachers, we have even struggled figuring out how do we balance the two? Because we have to also shift in order to get our kids to shift. But that is the hardest piece, is to get to that yet. Like, how do we help to instill that yet in our kids? Yes?
One of the things we were talking about is that the children tend to, and all of us, tend to not want to fail publicly. And that sometimes
not failing publicly.
They might be more comfortable failing at home, practicing at home, but not going that extra step.
That is very real, and we were talking about that in another group too. Not failing publicly, and especially not failing publicly at this age, when socially, the social status and social pressures are, we want to just blend in and not be a standout, right? That was even in the bicycle video, he even said that, right? Like, I can do this, everybody's looking at me, right? I know how to do this. We don't kind of want that glare of I don't know or I can't, and people seeing that as a public venue, right? And the funny thing, or I guess the irony in that video is, right, no one rides a bike the first time they get on it, ever. And so you had to fail to figure out how to ride a bike. In infancy, you don't start off walking, right? You have to fail to figure out how to walk. So somewhere in the journey, we shift. That it goes from our developmental milestones being okay to fail to it's not. But then how do we create an environment, and that's been our challenge here this year that I've kind of worked with our staff on, is we have to model it to our students when we mess up so that they can see it's okay for them to try and mess up too. I've been trying to do it with our staff, like, whoops, just sent you the wrong calendar invite, my bad, right? Or, you know, because I think it's important for them to see me mess up, then they can say to their kids, whoops, wrong thing, you know, I was wrong, rewind. The kids can see it's okay and safe to mess up, but that's hard, right? Because we have to kind of be vulnerable and make the kids feel safe too. But it's hard because it's intentional and it's coming out of our fixed mind to do that. Anyone else?
We talked about grades. How do you, if
Grades.
a child gets a bad grade, or your child is freaking out if because they don't want to get a bad grade, how to balance between, you know, it's okay, it's not the end of the world, but then also wanting to encourage them to strive for good grades. That can be tricky.
I feel like that's the larger conversation, isn't it? Grades, and how do you balance that success for reaching a high standard and having it be okay to fail, and where's that balance, right? Because I think that is where we, parents, you probably are having the greatest struggle at this level, right? You see a letter or a number come home and it's like, what happened? You know, did you learn it? Did you not learn it? Did you struggle? Did you not turn something in? Where was the disconnect? Versus, is it part of a process in getting there? And I think that's the part that we as a school are also with you in trying to figure out, right? What is that grade reflecting? Is that grade reflecting the knowledge that they know or the skills that they're acquiring? And I think that's a journey that even colleges are starting to ask themselves, right? Because they're looking at the whole process of admissions and even saying, how do we know what we're getting when we see a GPA score? So I'm with you, and I know Dr. Noonan and our leadership team, we're all asking ourselves that question around being the premier IB and unpacking that a little bit and saying, it kind of comes back to that exact question, right? How are we measuring it? And that's the grade.
I just wanted to mention something for the grades, because I have a daughter who used to have only straight A's, and then this year she came home and she freaked out, and I tried everything I could. I wrote comics for her, we talked, we tried to, Nothing worked, and then somebody at school showed her a video about this book. And in 15 minutes, she came home smiling. So I don't know what kind of magic it is. So we tried everything about the grades and it didn't work. There is a magical video and a magical book, and I don't know.
So your daughter wasn't feeling so great about the first B she ever got. She sees this video about mindset, and poof, it's all better.
And now I understand it. I was like, wait a second. A video versus everything I've done.
Well, sorry, sometimes that's true. What you all do might not click. We do it, it's going to happen instantly. Sorry, that's just adolescence. But I do think, and I do want to get to this because at the end of this presentation, I did give you guys some resources because there are some things that you can do at home, right? 5-minute, very quick, language-based, how you talk, how you frame, how we all use that sort of self-talk with kids in real time to help to start to make those shifts in mindset. Additionally, there's some resources that I gave you as takeaways. I really love this organization Mindset Works. When you go to their website, and I provided you their link as well in this PowerPoint, they have a plethora of resources for parents around mindset. And so as you have time, I would encourage you, I mean, you could get lost on that website and they're free. Just going through and taking a peek at some of the resources they have. They have like tactile things you can print off and do at home, in addition to just 5-minute videos that you can watch for yourself. So there's a lot that you can do there to help sort of shape that message at home. But know that this is sort of intentional work that we are also doing as a faculty, because someone asked me the question, how are we doing as a staff with this? It's hard, right? It's hard for us because it's also a mindset shift for many of us who are also fighting that need to do it right or a certain way. So I'm kind of excited that Dr. Noonan's challenged us a little bit with this. So again, just to kind of as a recap, some of the language that I think we're all kind of growing into as we grow with our mindset is sort of that fixed mindset language on the left, and then that growth mindset language on the right. And that's what we're all striving for with our students. So, speaking of growth, I was reflecting and using some of the feedback that I received last year from you all. I gave a survey at the end of the year to those of you that are returning families to ask a little bit about what you wanted these coffees to look like. And then for those of you that attended, you also gave me some feedback at the end of the year around what's information or sort of resources that you wanted to know more about. If you don't know, I like to read a lot. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun if we kind of did some shared reads together? Parents, me, Dr. D. And so I, over the summer, found some books. I'll be honest, one of them my school's reading too with my kids, so I put it on there because I'm reading it now, and I was like, this is a great book. It's the one on the right, The Gift of Failure. But social media was the main topic that came up that out of those survey results. And so actually a parent recommended this book around sort of screen and social media and the impact that it's having on children. And so it's also written by Gary Chapman. And have any of you read The 5 Love Languages? I love that book. It's really good. I made my husband read it too. So he's like, you can understand me. But that is, I thought that would be a great one for us to maybe look at as well. And then another educator friend of mine recommended Unselfie, which as I've been sort of thumbing through that and read some of the reviews, also seemed like something that has come up a bit as I've talked to parents and gotten feedback around how do we just help to raise kids that are really just caring about the world and their impact on the world, and not so much about self in the world that is starting to turn more inward. And so I thought those might be 3 good reads for us to maybe look at this year. And so we can look at tackling them one at a time. I'm going to put a survey out in the Husky Herald this week so that the broader parent community can also weigh in, and we'll figure out which one we'll tackle together first. But does that sound like a good plan that we can do? And then we can kind of process, have maybe like a book chat time. Okay, cool. As I shared with you, I have some resources that I have here, and if you have not had a chance to hear Carol Dweck speak about her work, she has a very quick TED Talk that is 10 minutes. It is The Power of Believing That You Can Improve. It's really a great grounding if you just want to know a little bit more about mindset and her work and her research that has supported the work. And I, again, will share this PowerPoint in the Husky Herald. It'll be posted on the website for you to be able to access the links pretty easily. This is a growing year. It's been the theme, right? Dr. Noonan gave us shirts that say we're growing together. And I fully believe that's what we do, right? We plant those seeds in the kids to help them grow. And I feel like as a staff, we're modeling it this year. But I feel like we can't do it without you. And so I hope that as we're doing this work together this year, if you find opportunities where you can see things that we can do to help in that journey, please share. For those of you that don't know me well, I am always open to learning and hearing ways we can do things to make this experience good, better, positive, and productive for your kids. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've made it a personal goal this year to be out a lot more in classrooms, so if I'm not as responsive, no, that's why. Year 2, I've got my hands like where I need them to be, so, but I am good at getting back to you. So please do let me know what I can do to help, okay? All right, thank you. Thank you for recording. This was different. Thank you, though, for those of you that couldn't be here. And we will have another parent coffee. I believe Ms. Pugh has scheduled the date for late January, maybe. But I will let you know that date in the Husky Herald. I will definitely publish that. And I'll be around if you have any specific questions. But thank you.
Thank you very much.